Hey everyone, welcome to today's webinar, Mastering Guest Feedback, Why and How to React to In-Stay and Post-Stay Reviews. My name is Emily, I'm a marketing manager here at SuitePad. I will be your moderator for today, and we are joined also by Max Lüders from Mara Solutions. A little bit more information, the webinar today will take about 45 minutes in total, and we would really like to hear from you too. So don't hesitate and ask your questions using the question chat window in your GoToWebinar control panel to the right of your screen, and we'll try to answer as many as we can. Another information, we will also be recording this webinar, so you will each receive a copy of the recording in the next few days. But now, without further delay, I'll pass it over to you, Max. Enjoy the webinar.
Thanks a lot, Emily. Hi, my name is Max. I'm one of the co-founders of Mara, and we were invited by SuitePad to co-host this webinar, and very glad that we may be here. As Emily just said, if during the presentation there are any questions, something you want to discuss, please use the chat, and Emily will then interrupt me to give me the chance to potentially answer your questions, and maybe we can even have kind of a live discussion if that's suitable with that specific question. And I'm now sharing my screen, and you should all see that. Again, Emily, I don't see you, so whenever there is something to discuss in the chat, please just interrupt me. I only see you. So yeah, what are we going to talk about today? The title of the webinar is Mastering Guest Feedback, In-Stay and Post-Stay. And we structured the session kind of along the feedback journey and the guest journey, the journey of a guest, and if a guest is a consumer or a producer, so to say, of feedback. And obviously a guest journey starts pre-stay when someone informs himself or herself about hotels. So a guest is a consumer of the public feedback of others in the pre-stay phase. Then hopefully the guest is joining as a guest at your hotel, and then he or she becomes a producer of live and non-public feedback. That's the part where SuitePad comes into play, obviously. And then there is the post-stay phase where the guest potentially becomes a producer of public feedback, which has some implications for you to think about. And we are answering 3 questions along this journey. Why to respond to reviews, that's the first part. How to react to in-stay feedback, and then also how to respond and react to this public feedback, so online guest reviews, to then hopefully influence others. That's the whole sense why you should react to this public feedback to stay with you. But before we start with the first block with the pre-stay phase and why to respond to reviews, there's a little poll which we would like you to participate in, which Emily will probably now start, and it simply asks who of you is answering guest reviews on Booking, Google, TripAdvisor, and the like regularly, or sometimes, or never. Oh well. That's a good result. So 75% of you answering regularly. If I don't know, can they speak up, Emily? Because I would obviously be interested in why you're doing that. If it's simply because your chain is kind of forcing you to, or if you're knowing about the positives about answering reviews. And then there are also 25% who do not answer, and we will cover why you should.
Yes, we can unmute. I have one person here who raised their hand.
All right.
You can speak here, Miss Julia Fritz. If it's working.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Julia,
All
if you
right.
hear us, you are unmuted, but you are free to not say anything if you desire not to.
Maybe it doesn't work technically. Not a problem. We'll just continue and we'll try to tell the ones that are answering, do they answer because of the right motivation, out of right motivation, and the ones who do not yet answer, why they should do it. So let's dive into that. So why to respond to online reviews? And the simplest answer is that more replies to online reviews means more business to you. That is what you will hopefully have learned at the end of this block. First of all, what we see is that online reviews are becoming more important than paid ads, advertising on search engines and so on, social media, when it comes to attracting new guests. So the impact of reviews is much higher than paid ads. And why is that? That is because it's more trustworthy, right? If you try to put yourself into the shoes of a potential guest, and sometimes you are yourself, then probably you're going to read reviews because they are more trustworthy and informative than ads, where someone pays to, be perceived good. And then secondly, reviews, if you're getting many and good reviews, they will enhance your visibility and the search ranking within the online travel agencies because more reviews and better reviews have an impact on your ranking in the search results when someone's looking for a hotel in your proximity. Now we only talked about reviews, but the part is why should you answer, right? And there is a huge impact of responses to reviews on the booking decision of a potential guest. And to put that in numbers, first of all, 90% of potential guests are checking reviews before booking. And then the more important number here is that 97% of the ones that read reviews, that check the reviews, they also read the responses. And there is a 2 times higher likelihood that someone is booking with a hotel if this hotel responds to all the reviews. And we are diving into that a little later and drill that down a little bit more in the third part. But that is already quite impressive, right? Now, what I also brought with me is a study, an actual study, scientific study, which tells us, and I want to spend a little bit more time on that because it's initially a little surprising, but then when you think about it, it makes sense that simply replying to reviews without doing anything else boosts your rating. So the average rating your hotel is getting, it boosts the number of reviews you're getting, and in turn, your ranking also gets better. And that's from this study published in the Harvard Business Review, titled Replying to Customer Reviews Results in Better Ratings. And what they've done is they looked at hotels which started replying to reviews. And the effect that they found is that from the point on that they started to reply to reviews, their average rating was 0.12 stars higher, and we'll talk about that in a second. Doesn't sound much, but it is actually. They got 12% more reviews, and in turn, when you get more reviews and better reviews, your search ranking on the OTAs, Google Maps, and so on gets better. Now, first of all, is that reliable? Is it really only the fact that they started replying? And it is, because that study was structured the following way. They looked at hotels that started replying on TripAdvisor at some point in time and had a look if the average rating increased, and it did. And now you could say, okay, yeah, when you start answering to reviews, you suddenly, are taking this feedback into account, and you actually get better. That's why also the rating gets better. But that wasn't the case, because they, at the same time, looked at the rating on Expedia, where these hotels didn't answer, and the rating there stayed the same. So it is really just that reviewers see that there is a reply to reviews, and that boosts your rating already. Why is that? Probably the effect is as follows. If someone is writing a review for your hotel and they see that every review is answered, they think, okay, a human is reading what I'm writing here on the other end. So I may only write what's true. Maybe I want to be a little bit more friendly to this other fellow human. So the effect is probably that people see someone is actually seeing this feedback, is writing a reply to it. Hence, I'm a little bit more friendly. And if I'm in between a 3 and a 4-star, I'll give the 4-star. That's probably the effect, and it is scientifically significant. Now, this 0.12 stars sounds very little, but in fact it isn't, because Google Maps, Booking, TripAdvisor, and so on, they are rounding the star rating. So really, even the slightest advantage here might bring you from a 4 to a 4.5 if you're slightly below the 4.25. So general message here, super important to reply to reviews because it actually increases your rating and the number of reviews. And now we try to kind of summarize that in one picture that is hopefully good to understand. And we titled that "Answering Many Reviews Leads to a Virtuous Circle." What does that mean? If you start to reply to reviews more regularly, maybe even more regularly than you do currently, this leads, as we just saw in this study, to more reviews and to a better and increased rating. And this in turn leads to a better ranking on Booking, Google, and so on all the OTAs. Then also there probably also isn't, we don't know the algorithms of the search engines, but probably they also account for answers. So if your reply rate is good, and if you're replying in a timely manner and so on, it is very likely that your ranking also is influenced by this number of reviews and by the timeliness of your review answers. Sorry. And now a better rating and a better ranking obviously leads to more guests and more business, and that is where we are coming from in the very beginning, right? So more answers means more business, and then you have more guests and therefore also potentially more answers, more reviews to answer, and then the virtuous circle kind of begins. And that is the part on why to respond to online reviews. Now, hopefully, your answers and the better ranking and so on will attract more guests to come to your hotel, and then the guest becomes, shifts from being a consumer of this public feedback to being a creator of feedback. And in this case, while they stay at your property, a creator of live and non-public feedback. And with that, I would hand over to Emily covering that part.
Thank you. Thanks, Max, for that cool introduction for the pre-stay. Very important as well. So now focusing more on the during stay. So here we're talking about, live feedback during a guest stay at a hotel. This offers actually several benefits for both the guests and the hotel staff, and we will see that right now. It allows guests to report any problems or concerns they may have during their stay in real time. And this enables the hotel staff to address these issues very quickly, which results then in quicker resolution and, of course, then improved guest satisfaction. Let's say, for example, the guests didn't have a comfortable first night because they are used to having, for example, multiple pillows, and they only had one. Then they tell the front desk staff during their stay on their way out the next morning, and the staff then sends this feedback to their housekeeping department to add more pillows to the room. And then that same evening, problem solved. The guest is satisfied for the rest of their stay. So actively seeking this feedback, this allows your guests to show the hotel's commitment to making their stay very memorable. They will feel more valued, more appreciated, and I mean, an overall satisfied guest will lead to more positive than post-stay reviews, which we will see later on. So another benefit of the during stay is the data analysis as well, where you can gather this feedback, this specific information about the guests, your guests' preferences, their expectations, their needs. And this information can be used to personalize then the experience of your guests, and then they will become more loyal to your brand. And this will then also help, all this information will help identify more areas of improvement for your hotel. So then in the future, you will know, okay, for this type of guest, we can add more pillows. For this type of guest, we will add more coffee pods, etc. Now, technology can also help in this process. Of course, there's technologies everywhere now. You will have multiple types of devices and digital tools to choose from. It can be pretty overwhelming, but first, we have the mobile apps where you can include a feedback form on your app that sends a message or a notification to the respective teams of your hotel staff. Second, we have a guest satisfaction survey, which is sent via email, SMS, or text. And third, we have chatbots or AI-powered systems, for example, that can handle great questions in real time. And then we also have the in-room devices, which is what SuitePad is doing. Hotels use these also as like this sort of two-way communication channel. So you have many different of these digital tools to choose from. But now I will focus more on the digital guest directory, which is the in-room tablet. This is what you see on the right. This is an example of the quick feedback feature that we can manage as a pop-up message, for example. So on this digital tablet, everyone knows how to use a tablet. It's in the installation. You can organize this within your own staff and see, okay, then we want this feedback from the beginning of the guest stay. So, okay, we put this pop-up message at the beginning, the first night of the guest stay. As a little information, if you don't know what a digital guest directory is, it's this guest engagement platform in the form, as you can see, of an in-room tablet. It's acts as a digital concierge, guest booklet. There's a chat function as well, a booking tool. And in these devices and a mobile app also, you can have this built-in chat function where the guests can also give their feedback during their stay in real time, which would send it then to your front desk staff and they will just react quickly and make your guest stay memorable. So here we will start with the benefits for your during stay feedback in technology-wise. So there's this real-time monitoring with this type of device that you can do. You, again, easily check the data on your admin panel, on the software of your tool, whatever. You understand your guests better, what they order, what they request most, what they click on. It's much easier than with a paper feedback form, which a lot of hotels still use today as well. So you have the paper form, you'd still have to retrieve that at the end of their stay. You have to take all of the paper forms and then reprint new ones, and then you'd have this feedback on the paper form. But if you have a digital version, mobile app, digital guest directory, etc., this data is much easier to gather. Then you can also have your processes much improved. So let's compare some of the devices. With a mobile app, a guest requires still to download it, right? It's worth noting that most guests don't opt for this option, with less than 5% choosing to actually install the app. On the other hand, guest surveys sent via email, for example, they may face the risk of getting lost in spam folders or being completely overlooked because, for example, they're being mistaken for promotional emails. However, when it comes to these types of in-room devices like the digital guest directories, since they're already present in the room, the guest can just conveniently pick them up, browse through. There's a quick feedback feature that pops up. They quickly give their feedback in real time, and then the hotel staff can act fast. The last benefit I would say is the upselling opportunities also. This is just an extra benefit that you can have with technology. So you use this data that you gathered from the feedback of your guest, you try to upsell your services to that specific guest using For example, the pop-up messages. You can send these guests a message about a vacancy in your spa. If they were saying, I'm feeling a little stressed right now, please give me an extra pillow. Then you say, okay, this guest is a little stressed. Let's give him the new vacancy in our spa, for example. Updating this information also is very quick and easy in the software. So that's another added benefit. Now on the next slide, I will give you an idea of the benefits. So here's some real data from 4 of our customers to show you a little bit how it works. So this data is taken from one entire month in 2022 and is taken solely from the quick feedback option of our devices. As you can see, most of the during stay feedback is positive, at least 76% up to 96%, which is outstanding. For example, the Real Dreams Hotel, they have some more negative feedback than the rest of the hotels, but they saw this as an opportunity to improve, right? After receiving these unhappy reviews, they quickly reacted and asked the customers what they needed. Then they gave the customers what they needed. The guests were pleasantly surprised with the fast responses and ended up having a great stay. And then the post-stay reviews were very positive. We also have here the neutral feedback, and this can also be an opportunity for hotels to do better in case you do have a lot of some neutral feedback as well, because you want your guests to have the best stay in your establishment, right? A neutral review, it can mean they're overall happy, but they could have more, like for example, the extra pillow, more coffee pods, more toiletries, clean the room later, or not have the room cleaned every day, for example. So as you can see, this live feedback during the stay, this real-time feedback for the guests, it gives this more engaging, more personal experience for your guests. So then as up to you if you prefer to keep the paper form, if you want to invest in a more technological advancement, you have the benefits here. So then it's up to you to see for your hotel which is best. Now I'll give the floor back to Max to talk about how to respond to the post-stay reviews.
Thanks a lot. I think I unmuted myself again and you can hear me. So yeah, switching to post-stay reviews, you just heard like how we potentially attract guests with replying to reviews pre-stay, then they are your guests hopefully, and you'll get some kind of feedback on the stay, and you try to make them as happy as possible and get as much feedback as possible from them to make them happy. And now switching perspectives again, the question is how to respond to online reviews. And for that, we have to remember why we respond to online reviews. And we do that to potentially attract new guests. And this sounds a little, unromantic, unidealistic, so to say. But what's very important to understand, I think, with most aspects that are coming now, we are answering the review and the feedback of the very specific guest, but much more importantly, we answer so that potential new guests can see how much we care about the feedback. So it's more of a marketing and online reputation management tool, to be honest, and there's much greater emphasis on that part and on that reason than on actually replying to the specific guest giving you the review. Looking at it in a very kind of pragmatic way. Yeah. The rule number 1, and now we are talking about general rules on how to respond to guest feedback. The rule number 1, and that's a joke of one of our working students, and we decided for leaving it in here: personalization, 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 but don't be repetitive in your responses. And what that means is not responding might sometimes even be better than responding with templates. Now, again, try to put yourself into the shoes of a potential guest who's informing him or herself about a hotel. And what you want to see when people are responding is that you actually care about the feedback that people are giving to you, because then they think, when I come to this hotel, they also care about the feedback I'm giving them in stay, right? And when you see that every response is answered with the same template, or that all the positives are answered with the same template and all the negatives are answered with the same template, then actually the effect is the opposite. People think you do not really care about the feedback, and that is why not responding sometimes might even be better than responding with templates, even though that's much faster, obviously. Now, in general, what makes a good review response? One, it comes promptly within 2 or 3 days, and there's 2 things here. First, obviously, the person receiving your answer is happy if he or she gets the reply fast, but we were also talking earlier about the impact of your response rate and your response time on the ranking. And it's very likely that if you are answering within 2 or 3 days, Booking, Google, and so on, they recognize that and they rank you higher because they think the quality of the hotel is higher. And probably they also rank you a little lower if you're using templates all the time. Then your answer to the feedback, to the review, should be appreciative and genuine. And you should really try with every review, even the negatives, to appreciate that people actually take the time to provide you with feedback. You should try to get in that mood of being appreciative for the feedback and actually thanking them no matter what the feedback actually is. Then the reviewer's key points are addressed. That comes back to the templates, right? You actually read the review, you understood what they are writing about, and then you address the key points, and you do not have to overdo that in the greatest detail, but it tells people that are reading your responses that you actually care about the things that people are telling you. The tone should be positive, and again, and we'll talk about negative feedbacks in a second, should be positive and conversational, even with the negatives, right? And again, you do not need to overdo it. So it should not be a novel, but really your reply, it's okay if it's short and sweet, as long as people see, they are taking that into account. And then a reply to a review can also give the opportunity for you to explain your concept in hopefully a constructive way. But if people are complaining about a small bathroom in an airport hotel, you might want to, again, having a positive tone, but might want to explain, hey, our room concept is designed so that the room has a small footprint, so we can put more rooms in the hotel and offer the rates that we offer for you as a guest, and then potentially turn this point into a positive one. So sometimes it gives you the opportunity to explain things about your concept, but you do not have to do that with everything someone is complaining about. Now, which reviews to answer? That's a very important question, because sometimes people do not have the time to answer all the reviews, but ideally you respond to all, and here is why. That's a study where people were asked, how likely are you to use a business that, and then does not respond to all. And 26% are not likely at all to use that business, 33 not very likely, 34 fairly likely, and 8% highly likely. Now that changes when a business responds only to the positives. So yeah, the business responds to reviews, but only to the positives. It gets slightly better looking only at the green bars, right? And then, oops, that was too fast. If a business or a hotel only responds to negative reviews, again, the numbers are better. Why is that? Because people see at least they are taking care of the critics in their reviews, and they try to explain stuff, and they try to be appreciative and so on. And then the very best results, obviously, when a business responds to all the reviews and positives. And that's also where the numbers coming from at the very beginning. You see this likelihood of using the business, and then this, all the green bars. And that is why we told in the very beginning that the likelihood of using your hotel is 2 times higher, twofold, when a hotel is answering to all their reviews. But you also see, if you have to decide kind of what to focus on, it's the negatives. And that's also the message of the next slide. Especially for the ones that are not answering currently, there might be a lot of unanswered reviews that are piling up, and then the question is where to start. And that's really the most important thing to do, to just start to answer reviews. And obviously we would say to start with the most impactful ones. Which are those? First of all, the most relevant, and that means if you sort reviews by the most relevant. So if you go to Google Maps, if you go to Booking, you can sort by most relevant reviews, and those are the ones that are that Booking or Google decide based on their algorithms are the ones that they display. If someone visits your page, they first see those, I don't know, 10 reviews, for example. First, you should answer those. And then after that, if you kind of have to prioritize negative reviews, and be fast about that. And then I would actually add a third category here, which is try to answer at least the new ones coming in, and at least parts of them, to get going and to get in this habit of actually answering reviews. Now, we don't have the time to focus on every type of review, but we wanted to focus on how to respond to negative reviews, and then hopefully also win customers back. And here, and maybe before we go through that, again, it's very important to understand you are not solely answering the person giving you the feedback, but you're also answering to the hundreds of people that are reading your response, and you want to be perceived as someone who can also take some critique that is going your way, and then deal with it, so to say. So you should be friendly, as you would when someone comes to your front desk and complains about something. Again, you should show appreciation for the feedback. You should be thankful, even though it might be a negative review. You should provide constructive next steps, if that makes sense, and you should try to shift the tone from potentially a negative tone of the reviewer to a positive tone that you are setting. And you should not at all take it personally. You should not be defensive, and let's talk about that in a second. You should not blame the guest, and you should not repeat negative words. Sometimes there are negative words in the review that one tends to repeat, and you should not do that because your answer reads kind of aggressive then. Now let's have a look at an example, how not to respond to a negative review. And the review isn't as bad, actually. It's it's a 6 point on Booking. That is not great, we know that. But it says friendly owner, a hotel with a homely feel to it, nice menu, and food was very good. Beer also excellent. Odd that you couldn't pay by card, cash only. Room was also a bit too Spartan. Would have expected shower gel at least. And now the answer is every hotel guest will be informed together with the booking and additionally by email that in our hotel it is not possible to pay with EC but cash, I think. It's on our terms. If you don't want this, you don't need to book our hotel for inexpensive €59 a night. The guest should not be surprised if this is the case and only therefore give a weak rating. And now the problem here is, and I get that getting a negative review is not good for your online reputation, and sometimes it might even feel unfair, and you might even feel that the guest is not right, and it might be perfectly true, and your feeling might be true and right. But you should try to swallow that down and really try to still give a somewhat positive answer, and think of not the one giving you this feedback, but think of the potentially hundreds that are reading your reply, and they should think, okay, I don't know if the guest was right, but the answer is, they take that seriously, and that's a hotel where I would want to stay, because they, even if I approach them with a critique, they are still friendly and take into account what I'm saying. I think that's the most important thing to remember, and that I hope you can take away from that webinar. Now, following all these guidelines, especially answering all the reviews, is challenging for most hoteliers. We know that, because it costs a lot of time, and potentially also resources. And there are 4 main strategies for answering reviews more efficiently. And the first is time batching and consistent responding, meaning block some time of the day, even though that's hard, half an hour, 15 minutes, depending on how many reviews you're getting, or every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, sometime, to actually just do it. Just answer some reviews to get your reply rate up over time a little bit. Then you might want to invest some time upfront in guidelines or templates. We talked about templates earlier. You should not just copy and paste those, but they can help. It can help to have some readily formulated things on stuff that is regularly appearing in your reviews. And third, use a review management platform, something like Customer Alliance, Trust You, Review Pro, which kind of syndicate all the reviews you're getting on the different platforms in one place, and you can answer them there, analyze them there, and so on. And the fourth part, obviously an AI review reply assistant. That's what we are doing, and that is now also where the little advertising block is starting. And I want to tell you a little bit about Mara and what we're doing. And I think the most important thing to understand is that we save a ton of time for you when you're answering online guest reviews. Answering a single review takes 6 minutes on average, so answering 10 reviews is about an hour, which is a ton of time. And a hotel that is getting 150 reviews a month and answering all these reviews, and that's a lot, I know, but there's someone is doing that for 2 days per month. And the effect of using Mara is we bring that down to 2.5 hours for a month. How do we do that? We have this AI review reply assistant, and it's you simply copy your review into the tool, you click on generate reply, and it will then come up with an answer that is sticking to the rules that I told you earlier. So we are following best practices when answering feedback. We are taking into account the most important points that the reviewer is making, and we try to come up with a genuine answer suggestion, and that's also how you should see it at the moment. It's a suggestion on how you could answer a review and how you could react to different parts. And we even allow you to bring kind of the truth about your hotel into Mara. So we were talking about this small bathroom and the small room footprint it allows, and the better rate that you could give to a customer because of that. And you could put something like that into Mara, and we will use it every time someone complains about the small bathroom. But it's not used as a template, but we reformulate, we rephrase it every time. And if we have some time at the end, we could potentially take a look at the tool. And that's my last slide. If you have any questions, prepare them already in the chat. I want to share a little success story of the Be Mine Airport Hotel in Frankfurt. It's a hotel that's getting 600 to 800 reviews per month, and they were coming from a humble 15% response rate. And using Mara, we brought them within 1 month. That's missing on the slide. Within 1 month, we brought them from 15% to 90% response rate. And nothing else changed in this hotel. And why is that? It's not only that we save time per review, bringing the time needed down to 1 to 2 minutes, but it's also that by using Mara, we allow people to answer guest feedback even in between different tasks or at the front desk in between two guests or something, actually replying to guest feedback in a good way is something that takes also quite some focus time. So at least 20 to 30 minutes at stretch. And with Mara, because it gives you those very good response suggestions from the very beginning, and you can start there without being creative every time from scratch. You can do this in between without, or better said, still maintain a good individual answer quality to the reviews that you're getting. And that would be my last slide. If there are any questions, I am very much looking forward to answering them.
So I am checking now. We have no questions in the chat. I can also unmute everybody, and you can, of course, just ask your question ad hoc if you want. We are happy, as Max already said in the beginning, we are happy to answer and create this discussion. I think we have our first question here. Okay, so which languages are supported, and is every review responded in the reviewer's language?
Short answer is yes. So we support almost any language. The more exotic ones are translated, but we generate the replies in the language that the original review is posted in. And we also provide a translation. So if it's, I don't speak Spanish, and if the review is a Spanish one, I will get an English summary and an English translation of the reply, the proposed reply, and I can decide on which one to use. Sorry.
We have another question here as well. So can I manage in a preset the average length of answers?
We have two presettings currently, which is brief and detailed or auto. So if the review is short, the answer will be short. If the review is long, the answer will be longer. But you can also decide on having it short or long every time. Yeah.
Okay. We'll give you some more time in case anyone else would like to say something.
Just go ahead and speak out loud if you want. I can show in parallel maybe just how that looks like. That's our default review that's in here, and every time I click on generate reply, it will come up with a new reply. Currently quite slow, to be honest, which is usually not the case. I'm going to reload that. So yeah, that is how it works. You see that it's written live, and now that's a demo setting, Hotel Nix Mannheim. There's a signature in here, and something, and we got 1 more minute, something to show you. I was talking about earlier with this small bathroom. We're having a hotel that's not the Nix, that is having one adult-only pool, and sometimes that pops up in their reviews. And they're usually answering with our adult-only pool is 1 out of 3 pools available. And at any other pool, children are more than welcome. And if I now take a review where this topic appears, oops, let me go back, there we go. So here, the only downside, we wanted to visit the pool with our kids, but we were not allowed to, as kids aren't welcome there, which was a bummer. We then detect this topic, adult-only pool, and we will then integrate this information in the answer regarding the pool situation. We apologize for the disappointment your family experienced. The restriction at the pool is designed to care for cater to the preference of guests who seek a more adult-only environment. That said, we understand how enjoyable a time spent swimming and playing with kids can be. We would like to kindly inform you that our adults-only pool is only 1 out of 3 pools available, and at any other pool, children are more than welcome. And now if I redo that, we use the same information from this snippet, from this template, so to say, but without using it as a template. And that is actually a very important feature that was based on our customer feedback. Yeah.
So Max, we have one last question.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a lot about hotel review management. Is Mara
Yeah.
also specialized in restaurants?
Mara, yes, we are focusing on hotels when it comes to marketing and sales, but it can answer restaurant reviews as well. We also have some web shops answering their reviews online, and so on. So it can deal with reviews for any business, actually. Yeah.
Perfect. Amazing the things that AI can do these days, I say. So yeah, well, thank you for your questions today. Thank you, Max. That's all the time we have for our webinar. Thank you to everyone who attended live also. If you have any remaining questions that weren't answered, you can, of course, just send your question in the feedback survey that will show up once we close the webinar. We will be happy to answer your questions in more detail, of course. You will have also the links, the recording and everything in the email that we will send you. So no worries for that. You will have all the information that you need. Yeah, so on behalf of Mara and the SuitePad team, thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Max, and we wish you a great day.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good time.
Bye.